nice crowd, we should have charged you.
Become members, they can become members.
Yeah, if you're not a member, join on the way out, okay? You gotta be a member, then you'll find out about all these things.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, if you haven't gone to our new collection we have out called Threads of Conflict, Echoes of the Civil War, which is in our gallery, please do that when you leave. It's beautiful. The young girls here set it up. Actually, Morgan Miller was the curator of that project, and she's also curator of collections. Listening to some people here now that have helped me with this. Rachel Johnson, she's senior registrar and archivist. She's the one who let me in to make copies of everything and pictures and sent me stuff and told me I've been here too long or come whenever you want to. Hannah Bergstedt, she's the lady over there that sets everything up. She's a curator of education. Dave Stratton gave me, from Greater Lima region, gave me a bunch of pictures that you'll see today. Bart Mills dropped off a copy of the original 1906 blueprints of Memorial Hall, which I have them right here if anybody wants to look at, okay? But they're eventually going to go to the museum. I want to thank my wife Linda for prodding me every day to get this thing done, and my daughter Betsy for cleaning it up because I would just have white stuff up there with the same font. I didn't know there was different fonts, okay? And the script and stuff like that. To me, it's just big block letters. I can see them, you know. And so okay, let's get.
What'd you do, Mark?
It's not my fault. I can't be blamed for anything that goes on here. Okay, so we're going to get started on this. Back in 1906, some of you weren't around back then, there was a group called the Lima Progressive Association, and they came up with an idea to build a grand memorial hall. So I want to, this was their idea, but I want to go back to where this idea kind of started, in my opinion. It started April 12th, 1861 in Fort Sumter, when those rebel, rotten people from the South bombed our boys for no reason at all. I still hate them. I don't like them. I don't like them. Well, the end of the war was May 26th, 1865. And M.H. Nichols organized the Company A of the 20th Regiment of Ohio Volunteers 7 days after the war started. Okay? So he was right there. And there were 16 other regiments formed from Allen County after that. So I'm going to do a little thing here. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Well, the boys will sing, the men will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. Now, that song was written by a northern guy, but the rebels took the thing because Johnny's on it, and I didn't like that, but I have no choice. The sad thing about that is there were 154 Johnnies from Allen County that did not march home. Okay? So, I know their families were glad that the other ones came back, but just heartbreaking. That doesn't include the ones that were maybe missing an arm or a leg. Terrible time back then. Okay, now we're going 40 years later. The Lima Progressive Association formed in April of 1906 to start the conversation for erecting Grand Memorial Hall to honor the pioneers of Allen County and also the soldiers, Marines from the Civil War. The group met with the county commissioners to see if they could put this on the ballot. The Progressive Association, A.L. White, President, Dr. D.W. Steiner, Vice President, G.E. Bloom, Treasurer, J.C. Lindeman, J.A. Bendier, D.J. Cable, C.F. Dodds, and D.A. Neely were named to the executive committee. Those are names that you hear, if you're up here a lot, those are names you hear. All those people were businessmen, doctors and stuff, and they wanted to bring Lima around. They wanted to help build Lima. So the committee had to get a law passed, had to go approach the state so we could get a bond issue in there to pay for Memorial Hall. So one of the reasons they wanted to do this was the decline of the Frode Opera House. It had built in the 1860s, and it caused for an outcry of a new auditorium. The reason they needed an auditorium, which is a flat space, okay, is because John D. Rockefeller, when he bought it in 1904, took out the area which was the Lima Music Hall and put offices in there. So no more basketball games in there, no more wrestling matches, no more boxing matches. So when he sold it to Frank Mayer, the only thing Frank had left was the auditorium, was the opera house itself, with all the chairs and everything. Well, they were all decayed. They all need to be replaced. He didn't have the money, and people who wanted to come, organizations that wanted to come to Lima, they wanted an auditorium, flat floor. So this is one of the reasons they wanted to do it. But also, the main reason, according to them, was to have a place for the patriotic societies, like the GAR, the Grand Army of the Republic, the WRC, the Women's Relief Corps, and other military organizations. Plus, plus the Pioneer Society, which eventually became the Allen County Historical Society. And they were going to have access, they would have their own offices and have access to up to 5,000 seats. So they thought that Memorial Hall would be a drawing card for everybody to come. The figure which all the conservative businessmen thought was going to be like $150,000. That included buying the lot, that included everything, building and everything. A lot of money back then. You can't even build a house now back then. But back then, that was $5.2 million. We couldn't build a memorial hall for $5.2 million. It would probably cost more than that to tear it down. I mean, I'm just throwing these out. So there was a big stake about the tax. $500,000 for 12 years. So July 14th, they met at White City, July 14th, 1906. A big meeting was held at White City. Does anybody know where White City is? Well, you do because you read the card. This was at Hover Park. This was at Hover Park. If you look at it, there's buildings down along through here. They would sell peanuts down here in the shell, okay? So I found these two postcards. It's the only thing I found about White City. I mean, I'm going through everything, and Rachel has too. We can't find anything else, and we're just fortunate to find White City. Well, they had everybody come. They had 2,000 people come at 10 o'clock in the morning. Everybody brought a picnic basket. So they were going to share, okay? Well, at 2 o'clock, there were 3,500 people there to listen to five guys speak, pro and con, on whether we need to have Memorial Hall. So this was a pretty, like I said, a pretty big deal. It was really, the two things they were worried about was the location, and the other one was how much was it going to cost me, okay, which is typical. So the commissioners sent a resolution to the Senate for permission to build a Memorial Hall. They came back and said, yep, okay, the resolution passed April 24th, 1906. Now the hard work began. Now, the Lima Progressive Association, they were done. Their only job was to present it. Governor Harris appointed Honorable B.A. Baxter, chairman, Captain Dunce, as secretary, Roland McKinney, Dr. R.E. Jones of Gomer, and Theodore Kempner of Delphus. Those two, Jones and Kemper, are the only ones who didn't live in Lima. They were the trustees of Memorial Hall. They were in charge of making sure it got built properly and to find the location and tell everybody they were going to pay $500,000 for 12 years. So there's another picture of Hoover Park. You got the oil derrick there, you got the wooden bridge. It's really neat. So, you know, it passed, they put it through the county, and it passed by 1,600 votes. But there were two wards in Bluffton and Delphus each, and they turned it down by 70%, no votes. So they really didn't want it, I guess. Yeah. These gentlemen here, standing right to left, is Tom McLaughlin, top left. He was one of the architects, okay? Henry Valor, he was just a guy that was there to help, you know, oversee everything. And the guy on the far right, McDongle Emmett. Is his name. It's not the other way around. I checked. Down bottom row is George Hefner. There was Dr. Jones, Rolla McKinney, Captain C.F. Dodds, and Theodore Kempner. These were, the bottom guys were the commissioners at that time. Now the discussion began on the location. Okay, this is the Cunningham House, where Memorial Hall stands now. Okay, if you look in the back, you can see a horse and a guy standing there. It's a nice home. There was another home here, but that had been torn down years ago, and Mr. Cunningham owned all of that. So most citizens wanted the memorial built in the square. There was no place available. Nobody wanted to sell their property. You'll see in some of the pictures why there was no place available. And others wanted it, you know, in their own township. So when the bids went out, Dawson and McLaughlin won the architect contract. John Sulzer from Fort Wayne, for $96,000, become the general contractor. Lima Plumbing and Heating, $8,000. They're still around. Henry Viner was construction manager, and a forfeiture of $20 a day for late delivery. That doesn't seem like it's too bad. The people wanted the memorial in the square because the trolley went through there, the urban went through there, so it was easy on and off. But this was only going to be a half a block from either one of them. I mean, can you walk that far? Evidently not. So, in February 19th, 1907, it was decided the site was going to be built no matter what. Well, the Cunningham site was going to be built no matter what anybody said. Too late. Well, on March 7th, less than 3 weeks later, 1907, the Mart Armstrong Post 202, the Grand Army of the Republic, the largest veteran group in Allen County at that time, said no, they weren't for it. Well, tough luck. They were still going to have it. Chairman Baxter wrote that when they decided on the location, all 5 of the commissioners on that board decided individually. They didn't talk to each other or anything like that. He said, we made our own decision. Well, the 3 guys from Lima, they voted for the Cunningham lot. The 1 from Goat, the 2 from not Lima, from out in the township, they voted no. Well, 3-2, sorry about your luck. He mentioned, Chairman Baxter mentioned, I've got to read this because I think it's pretty funny. He mentioned that people were mad when the location of the first courthouse in 1840 was selected. Then they were mad when the canal didn't go through Lima, when the Penn Railroad didn't run down Market Street, when the present courthouse was built, when the children's home was built, the library, the post office, the state hospital location, and the locations of all the churches. He said you could never be satisfied. The only thing that was agreed upon was the hospital. And the only reason it was agreed upon because they had it being built before they told people they were building. Smart guy, Mr. Baxter, yeah. So the building would be 122 feet wide, 155 feet long, height of the auditorium 64 feet, front elevation 40 feet. Seating in the auditorium was 2,250 people, just downstairs, okay? Plenty of room for dancing, swap meets, listen to the orchestras, whatever. On the right side, going before the staircase, was the men's lounge and smoking room. Evidently, they didn't need a restroom. I don't know. On the left side, a splendid ladies' room with a restroom. So I don't know if they shared or what. But I do have prints, so I've been looking at them. On both of these, there was 1 toilet and 1 sink. But luckily upstairs, there was 1 toilet and 1 sink in the restrooms up there. So, you know, trying to help everybody out. The grand staircase leads to a spacious vestibule, and the pioneer room and military quarters are up there. They called the one side, the second floor, the military floor, and the other one was the pioneer floor, where our Allen County Museum was. I found this postcard. I thought this was really cool. There's the north side of Memorial Hall, okay? And this is the alley between Memorial Hall okay, on the east side of Memorial Hall. This is where Tomlinson's eventually gonna be, okay, and Spring Street would be out here. But I thought this so cool, these guys are dragging, plows and horses and everything in there. Looked really neat. Okay, Grand Army of the Republic, GAR, better known as, was founded in 1866 nationwide, and the local chapter was 1882. It was set up to assist all veterans, support nurses, preserve the history, teach patriotism, and two things that I thought was really important: to urge for voting rights for black veterans, and the other one was to make Memorial Day a permanent national holiday. So I think that was pretty good. The Women's Relief Corps, established July 25th, my birthday, but not the right year, 1883, was requested by the GAR. It was like a ladies' assistance group, and they provided assistance to the veterans of all the wars after the Civil War, and their widows and their children. You wonder why I have this guy here. I wondered why I had this guy here. His name is Albert Wilson. He was born February 11th, 1850, and died August 2nd, 1956. He was the oldest Civil War veteran alive until he died, okay? He set the record. 106 years and 7 months. And some days, I didn't figure out the days because I didn't see the calendar. But this gentleman here, there's a statue of him in Arlington National Cemetery. He was vice commander of the GAR for 22 years until he was 70 years old, and then they got somebody else. So then he did another 30 years, this guy's just hanging out, So when he died, the GAR disappeared, and so did the WRC, because the GAR was set up for Civil War veterans and their spouses. Oh, look at that, downtown Lima. Don't we wish we had crowds like that now? This is, I don't know if this is from the era of when we had the GAR convention here, but I just couldn't pass up showing this slide. We have electricity out here, I couldn't read any of the names on there, which companies or anything, but we had a lot of people. This is before the malls, folks, okay? This is before we were born and our parents were born. This was a long time ago. This is the souvenir medal that they gave out at 1908 GAR encampment in Lima, Ohio. My wife was upset when I bought one of these. I don't know where it's at, but I'll show you later. I bought this on the internet. That's old guys, we got to buy stuff like this. I apologize. No, I don't apologize at all for buying that. Okay. So we had in 1908, we had the 42nd annual state convention of the Grand Army of the Revolution, as some people call it, was held in Lima. Until 1996, it was the largest attendance of people in Lima from that time that they had it in 1908 to 1994, I believe it was. Still, pretty good record. So it was not completely finished. Memorial Hall was not completely finished when they came, because they had to get here. The main floor was finished. I'm hoping the restrooms on the second floor, but the balcony wasn't done yet, okay? So here's some pictures of them having their parade around and everything. What I like back here is all these people have umbrellas. Now, I don't know if it's raining, but you can see some people on here have umbrellas, but not everybody does. But this was a postcard that I found in our research area. Here's another one. See all these towers and stuff that they had? These were put in there for the GAR in Camden. I don't know how long they stayed in there, so don't quiz me about that, please. But this was lit up at night. This is really cool. Now, back here, hold on. Back here, that little sign where the light is, it says, "Use Pride of Lima flower." It's the only thing lit up there. That guy knew what he was doing. And then here's some more of the parade. I would imagine these gentlemen down here are probably the older, maybe couldn't make the march, but they're all dressed in white. They still have They still have umbrellas. They're marching from South End down by the river and up into the square. This picture here, it's looking north, and you can see here, right here, that's the top of the courthouse. Okay, this is the top of Frode Opera House. This is where the Met is, and that's where Joey's Subs used to be. He lived in Lima, down here. So another big getting together. Same day. I don't know how many parades they had. I couldn't find anything on what they did when they were here. There was probably some alcohol going on, but there was probably a lot of talking about where I've been and all these other things. But when this was over with, before it was totally finished, Memorial Hall was finished, they had the Estavad, which is the Gomer, well, was a Welsh Sing State Convention there, the Eagle State Convention, Hibernian Convention, the Ohio State Volunteer Fire Departments all met at Memorial Hall before the balcony was completed. So all they needed was a big room down below, which was nice because, I mean, we started getting some money in there. So here's another picture of downtown. That's the Frode Opera House here. This was, well, not the Opera House. This was the Frode Music Hall, 3rd floor, okay? And you can see the spire there. Don't forget we have the Verlin Hotel, in case you need a place to stay tonight. It's, there's open. Morris family, just a really nice picture. This is a picture of the ladies in the WRC. I have no idea what this was. It was just in their folder and the only picture we had, so it came out for this. June 5th, 1908, Albert Uplinger, Fort Wayne, Indiana, fell today and was fatally injured. He was working on the flagship of the 2nd floor on the east side staircase and stepped back off the scaffold, falling 20 feet. He passed. So when you went upstairs here, you would take a left and go to the Pioneer area, okay? Now the Pioneer area, they offered to all the townships in Lima a case that was like 3 foot long by 2 foot by 2 foot, a glass case, to bring any of their mementos that they would like to have the public look at. And they would be stored in their offices there. So it was going to cost $100, but it was a one-time deal. So that was probably maybe $300 at the time. I don't know what it was. We have some pictures of it later on. But they wanted to have other people bring their things and not just what they had. April 17th, 1909, there were bronze tablets installed on the 2 columns in the main vestibule. One of them had Dr. S.A. Baxter. He was the first chairman, which died January 5th, 1908. He didn't get to see this come to fruition to be finished. Then Charles Don was named chair. Roland McKinney was on it, Richard Jones, Theodore Kemper, and George Hefner. And McDongle Emmett, assistant secretary. That was on one of them. I don't know if they're still there or not. I hope they are. The other one, on the other side, was the county commissioners. S. Wesley Wright was a chair. Alexander Conrad, Charles Johnston, Henry Lambert was a clerk. Dawson McLaughlin was an architect, and John Seltzer was a contractor. I skipped something here that I wanted to tell everybody. It's really important, so excuse me for that. Huh, I didn't. I was wrong. Okay. I would have never forget myself if I forgot this. November 15th, 1907, the cornerstone was laid at 11 a.m. They hadn't planned on laying it then, but the guys putting the stones in said, we're covering it up, you need to get it in there. So, inside were copies of all the local newspapers, copies of the prints given, like I have here, showing the footing, the basement, first, second floor plans, front, side elevations, longitudinal sections. You can all look at that if you want to. Postmaster Campbell put the current stamps in there. Auditor Ackerman put the transition by the commissioners. Professor Miller put the catalog of Lima College in there. Harold Cunningham was the grandson of Dr. Cunningham, was given the original deed for the property by the commissioners, and he put that in the cornerstone. Dr. Baxter put in the history of Allen County. There's also photos of the construction. Elks Lodge put a silk U.S. flag in there. And McDougal Emmett, it's the last time I'm going to say his word, he put a scrapbook of every word ever printed considering erection of the building. A guy like that had to be doing that. I mean, you can have a George or a Paul doing that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. Yeah. So in 1906, the Memorial Hall, 1909, Memorial Hall was turned over to the commissioners. Now it was there to maintain, schedule events, have Pioneer Society, JAR, WRC move into their offices. I'm just going to run down a few things here. Fire, we had a fire October 22nd, 1909. It was on a staircase just inside at the fire escape. They blamed it on an electrical fire. Well, the gentleman who oversaw the construction was down in Dallas. When he found about it, he said, it was an electrical fire. Now listen to this. He said, because all of our wiring is in lead pipes. That's not good. And he said, and there were no connections or splice plates at that point. So it couldn't have been them, so he said, blame somebody else. So, yeah, but it wasn't that big. It was only $1,000 damage. They had a quilted dance, December 29th, 1913. People came from all the way from Dayton for this dance. I mean, the article sounded like it was a big deal, coming all the way from Dayton, okay? The Socialists sued the commissioners February 14th, 1919. It lasted a year and a half. It went through every court, back and forth. When they got denied, somebody else filed it and everything. And finally, the state says, no, the commissioners could decide who could come to their building. But they still weren't satisfied. They had sit-ins and everything, you know. Okay, the Historical Society had an antique exhibit May 2nd, 1920. And that was, we'll talk about that. And then the superintendent moved, the county school superintendent moved into the hall March 19th, 1919. December 29th, 1916, Owen Francis presented to the Allen County Historical Society his writing of Casualties, Allen County Soldiers, War of Rebellion, 1861 to 1865. I have a copy of that here. He listed every man who got killed or died of disease in Allen County, the date, where they were when it happened, how old they were. So if anybody wants to look through this, it kind of gets pretty sad. There's 154 names on here, okay? And this gentleman, he served too. He served in the 57th Regiment of the Ohio Volunteers from September 61 to the close of the war. His company, which was from Allen County, lost, killed in action, and died of disease 49 people. There was a lot of people died of diseases back then. Yeah, so I'm going to put this here in case somebody wants to look at it. And if you want copies, we can make copies. And then, 1929, Mrs. A.T. McDonald presented to the Historical Society the history of the society. The first officers were President Doane Robb, Secretary John Lutz, Treasurer George Foltz, and the curator was James Pillar. Mrs. Mahaffey thinks that the Allen County Historical Society started on her kitchen table. Her son Willie from Lafayette and James Pillar from Lima, when they were young, they picked up everything they could find that wasn't nailed down, thinking it was an Indian artifact, a settler's artifact, and then the settler's property. So they bring it in, put it on their kitchen, and they'd sort through everything, and then they'd box it up, and they'd go hide it up in the barn and everything. Well, when the Pioneer Society got started, they brought those things to them because they didn't think anybody else had any of those. Okay, it's a really nice article about these two young men. So she is talking about the history, pardon me, she's talking about the history of the Allen County Historical Society. If anybody'd like to read this, it's very interesting. There's a lot of names in here. When they first set up the commission, they had, president and all the other officers. but they also had a representative from every township to come in. So they weren't making the decisions because they figured, oh, everybody on the commission's from Lima. Well, they were. But, but it's like they wanted somebody to represent their township. And that's exactly what they did. So if you did not have a ticket for this, you weren't going to get in. I'm telling you. I don't know the date, but I mean, when you get Kid St. Elmo's fighting Kid Dayton for a rematch, I mean, come on. You guys had to go. I mean, it's like, yeah. Man, Saturday night, Memorial Hall. Big deal. That scared me just looking at this guy. Sousa Band. John Phillip himself was here. If you look where it's underlined, it says the Sesquicentennial Exhibition March. That was, you know what the sesquicentennial? Yeah, 200 years. 150. It was a test. Did good. In 1938, the WPA came to Allen County and came to the Allen County Historical Society in Memorial Hall and cataloged and cleaned everything we had. Okay, these are gentlemen, they didn't live in Lima, these were gentlemen sent here to do that, cleaning the guns and everything. If you look at this big bed back here, that's awesome. Here's those cases that I told you about where they could do that. And up here, we don't need any more antlers.
Yeah.
Okay? You got antlers at home? No. Don't need them. Don't need them, folks. And this is some more, I mean, you can see that lady eagle eye. She's looking to make sure they did that. We have all these portraits of all these gentlemen up here in safe storage down in the basement. If you want to see this stuff, you have to get a hold of the staff, make an appointment, and they'll maybe let you in. So they're doing the same thing. And then they did a lot around Lima. I've done another presentation about that. I'm not going to continue on. And this is a picture, just kind of a weird picture that I found and thought it'd be pretty neat. I don't know when this was taken. This was taken from Spring Street, okay? Looks like Tomlinson's in business over here still. And this is the backup. If you look up here, look at the weathering on that and down here. So we all know that it needs work done to it, okay? So this is the interior of it. These pictures here were given to me and to use today. Yeah, Allen County Museum. I mean, Allen County. Memorial, Life of Memorial, okay. Allen County. This is part of the some more pictures we have. This, I think this is really neat. This really looks like an old picture where it's all the marble and everything. Skyline. 1976, they had a memorial service here for the POWs, MIAs on the steps. I don't know who that gentleman is. I would like it didn't say anything on the back of the picture to be able to tell what he was. And here we go. Swap meet. Come on. How many of you went to one of these? Come on, Susie. I know you did. I know you and Gay went there. Come on. All right. Liars. Okay. So anyway, we used it for all different kinds of stuff. Okay. This was when I was fifth grade. All the city schools, they bused all the kids to Memorial Hall to listen to the Lima Symphony Orchestra. I don't remember it. I probably was still standing in the corner when they left, and they forgot about me, but I do not remember going to this, and my wife says, yes, you do. And I'm like, you weren't even with me back then. So anyway, this was a picture because everybody dressed up. Everybody, and I don't know if the county schools came or not, but I know that the Lima City schools came, and I missed it, I think. This is a picture of the orchestra with kids around. This place was packed from what I heard. So it was nice, to get these pictures of these guys. And this is a really nice people all dressed up. And my wife says she knows two of these people. I don't.
First and second chair violins, Anita Sims and Greg Skinner.
Anita Sims and Greg Skinner. first and second violins, according to my wife. Don't question, okay? And this, I think, was a church service, okay? Because he's standing up, he's preaching, everybody's dressed up, standing up. So that could be. Okay, the Civic Center opened in 1984. On July 29th, 1993, Brian Keegan, president of the Veterans Memorial Civic Center Board, said that 60% of the oak woodwork had already been completed, being cleaned. It didn't cost him anything because the people who were doing the work received public assistance. So that was nice. But he said it was going to take $200,000 to put in new concrete steps, handicap vestibule, repair fire escape, improve security, heating system update, and they could not save the velvet curtain stage. Other needs, not included in that $200,000, was a renovation of the public areas, murals, plaques, stained glass repairs, lighting fixtures, restrooms, and the annual budget for the county commissioners for that was $99,000. On March 20th, 1999, the American Red Cross had a MASH party. Wanted to see lookalikes, Hawkeye and all these guys. Did you win? No. Anyway, so, and then on November 18th, 1999, the veterans complained they were kicked out of Memorial Hall. They couldn't believe it. The next day in the paper says, we asked you to move because we're painting your rooms and cleaning your woodwork, and you guys do that. Well, they never heard anything from veterans. They moved back in and it was all done. So the cost for maintenance alone was $135,000 to $150,000. October 2nd, 2015, Allen County Commissioners have Bart Mill and Trisco System assess Memorial Hall. The cost for reservation was $1.9 to $2.2 million. Restoration was $3.9 to $4.4 million. Building repair, $520,000 to $560,000. Demolition estimate was $3 million. So in 1993, there was a prospectus for long-range plan for the Allen County Memorial Hall. And if anybody wants to read this, go ahead. It doesn't give any prices or anything, it just tells you what needs to be done. So I'm wrapping up here. I want to close with one thing that Dr. Baxter said many years ago, 1906. He said this building is not for today or tomorrow, but for years, and for this reason alone, it should be made a substantial one, and one of which the people of Allen County will always be proud. Since there are no questions, you can all leave now.